Have you ever had that sinking feeling that no matter how hard you work, how carefully you try to save, money just seems to vanish? Not in a big dramatic way, but quietly, slowly, as if it's slipping through some hidden crack you can't quite find. Like water leaking from a vessel you thought was whole. And what if the leak isn't your paycheck or your spending habits, but something far more subtle? The way you place your shoes by the door, the clutter behind your fridge, the posture of your wallet when you set it down. You see, in both Feng Shui and Buddhist understanding, energy doesn't shout, it whispers. And in that whisper, it tells us exactly why wealth either gathers or escapes. Today, I'm going to show you two quiet patterns, often ignored, that may be silently draining your financial energy. But once you see them, you can shift them. And when you do, everything changes. Before we begin, if you find meaning in what we share here at New Day Mindfulness, please offer a gentle click, one like, one share, and one subscribe. It may seem small, but it helps us reach more hearts and keeps this space alive with insight, generosity, and grounded wisdom. Now, let's look at what your space has been trying to tell you and why money keeps leaking away without a sound. Part 1. How everyday habits become invisible. Wealth drains is easy to blame external factors for our financial instability. Inflation, taxes, unexpected expenses. And sure, those things play a role, but some of the deepest and most consistent wealth leaks don't happen on the ledger. They happen in your daily rhythm, in what you consume when you're not thinking, in how you treat food when no one's watching, in the unconscious loops you repeat every single day. There's a Buddhist term for this pattern, Trishna. It roughly translates to thirst or craving, but it's more than just a want. It's an automatic grasping, a reflexive reaching for something to fill a moment of discomfort. It doesn't matter what the object is, food, scrolling, Amazon purchases, constant entertainment. The underlying mechanism is the same, mindlessness that costs us not only money, but peace. Let's ground this in something very real. Consider the story of Ava, a 29-year-old tech founder in Los Angeles. On paper, she had made it. She raised seed funding for her startup, hired a small team, and was making low six figures. But she was constantly anxious about money. Her bank balance was a mystery to her. Even worse, she often felt that no matter how much she earned, she was still stuck in a loop of lack. Ava had a habit. Her mornings were chaos. She overbooked meetings, skipped breakfast, ignored hydration. By noon, her energy crashed. That's when the DoorDash orders started. One at 12:15, another at 3 p.m., maybe a snack at 5, then wine and takeout by 8. If you asked her, she would tell you this was convenience, a necessary byproduct of being too busy to cook. But if you look deeper, you'd see a behavioral loop rooted in disconnection, from body, from space, and from spirit. Let's pause here and consider what this really means. This isn't about takeout being expensive or sugar being unhealthy. It's about the karmic cost of not showing up for your own energy. The scattered energy of Ava's day didn't just affect her digestion. It affected her clarity, her financial planning, her ability to say no to poor deals or hire wisely. Her physical body was undernourished, but so was her relationship to wealth. It's like trying to build a house with bricks made of sand. From a Buddhist perspective, the loop of Trishna creates suffering not because desire is evil, but because it's unconscious. Every time Ava placed an order without presence, just to fill an emotional void, she reinforced a pattern of grasping. That's a karmic loop. And karmic loops don't just cost peace, they cost money too. Now let's look at the same issue through a Feng Shui lens. In classical Feng Shui, the kitchen is more than just a cooking space. It's the hearth of the home, the center of nourishment and therefore prosperity. A neglected kitchen, a fridge full of rotting leftovers, or a dining table turned into a storage pile, these are not neutral design choices. They are symbols. In this worldview, how you treat the space that feeds you is how you treat abundance itself. There's a principle called energetic signaling. It means your environment constantly mirrors and amplifies your internal state. If your kitchen is chaotic, your inner world is likely scattered. If your fridge is neglected, you are likely delaying or denying your own nourishment. If your meals are eaten while working, standing, or distracted, you are symbolically rejecting the act of receiving. You're saying to the universe, I don't have time to eat. I don't deserve to rest. I'll earn peace later. This is not just poetic, it's practical. Studies in behavioral economics have shown that people make better financial decisions when they are well-fed, well-rested, and emotionally regulated. In other words, the way you eat has a ripple effect on how you earn, spend, and save. Let's make this even more real with a public figure example. Warren Buffett, one of the richest men in the world, still eats a simple breakfast every day, often from McDonald's, amusingly enough. But what's fascinating isn't the meal, it's the ritual. He drives himself, he eats mindfully. He's not chasing 20 things before noon. His energy is focused, simple, and repeatable. This is not a coincidence. Buffett's discipline in how he starts his day mirrors his discipline in how he handles wealth. Now, I'm not suggesting that eating a McMuffin will make you a billionaire, but I am saying that ritual matters. The way you approach nourishment, especially in private, when no one's watching, tells your subconscious what kind of person you are. Are you someone who consumes reactively, or someone who receives with reverence? Let's talk about the home now, because the space around you either supports your financial well-being or silently erodes it. Look at your kitchen right now. Is the fridge packed with expired sauces and wilted vegetables? Is your microwave used more than your stove? Is the dining table buried under paperwork, delivery boxes, or last week's receipts? This isn't about cleanliness for its own sake. It's about energetic alignment. In Feng Shui, the fridge represents retained energy. If it's overcrowded, you are hoarding and suffocating flow. If it's empty, you're in scarcity mode. If it's disorganized, your qi, your life force, is fragmented. Cleaning your fridge isn't just about hygiene, it's about dignity. You are telling the universe, I am capable of holding wealth with care. Here are 3 practical steps you can take today. 1. Clean out your fridge weekly. Don't wait for things to rot. Remove what no longer serves. Wipe it down with warm water and a drop of essential oil if you like. As you clean, affirm gently, I release what is stale. I make room for what nourishes. 2. Eat intentionally. Even if you live alone, set your table. Light a candle. Put your phone away. Sit with your food and breathe. You don't need to make it elaborate, but do it with presence. Bless your food if that's your practice. If not, simply pause and say, may this meal give me clarity and strength. 3. Respect your dining space. If your table is currently functioning as a workspace or clutter dump, reclaim it, even if it's just a corner, even if it means buying a small tray and placing one beautiful object on it. Symbolism matters. You are retraining your environment to honor the act of receiving. Let's connect this back to Ava, the startup founder. After recognizing these patterns, she made a few simple changes. She blocked off 20 minutes each morning for breakfast. Nothing fancy, just eggs and toast. She cleaned out her fridge. She moved her laptop off her dining table. Within 3 months, she wasn't rich overnight, but she felt clearer. She stopped panic ordering. She saved nearly $800 just from eating at home 3 more times a week. And perhaps most importantly, she no longer felt financially desperate, even though her income didn't increase. Why? Because she stopped leaking energy. Let me say this clearly. Money leaks don't always show up as subscriptions or lattes. Sometimes they show up as scattered meals, half-eaten snacks, and forgotten leftovers. They show up in the karmic cost of not caring for yourself. And when you don't care for yourself, the world mirrors that back in lost opportunities, poor decisions, and money that quietly disappears. And here's the deeper teaching. When you eat unconsciously, you don't just consume calories, you consume karma, you consume confusion. And in the presence of confusion, wealth rarely stays. So ask yourself, how are you feeding your body? How are you feeding your space? And most importantly, how are you feeding your future? It doesn't take wealth to eat with dignity, but it does take awareness. And awareness is the first step toward prosperity, not just in your bank account, but in your energy, your clarity, and your ability to hold what life wants to give you. Part 2, credit cards and the karma of invisible debt. If money were made of paper alone, it would rustle louder than it whispers. But today, money barely makes a sound. It flows silently through digital wires, vanishes through swipes, dissolves through taps, and hides in numbers we scroll past on our phones without ever truly feeling. And in that silence, many of us lose our connection with it. Not just practically, but energetically, karmically. Credit cards in and of themselves are not evil. In fact, when used with intention, they can be incredible tools, offering convenience, safety, even rewards. But the danger lies not in the object, but in our disembodied relationship with it. When we spend without pause, when we swipe without awareness, we are engaging in what Buddhist teachings call action without consciousness. This is the root of karmic entanglement, not simply doing, but doing without understanding. Let's ground this with a real story. In Singapore, a mother gave her teenage daughter a credit card. It was meant to be practical, a tool for emergencies, transport, school lunches. The girl, raised in comfort, had never had to handle cash. Over time, her perception of cost softened. When she bought a smoothie for $9, she didn't think twice. When she upgraded to a premium app subscription, she didn't consider the cumulative cost. After all, it wasn't real money, just a few taps. By age 17, the girl had racked up thousands in monthly spending. Not because she was reckless or spoiled, but because she had never developed the embodied relationship between energy, effort, and exchange. The mother, watching this unfold, realized the error wasn't the spending, it was the absence of consequence. She had unintentionally trained her child into karmic amnesia, action without remembrance, choice without pause, consumption without weight. This is not an isolated story. It is the modern story. In the age of auto payments, buy now, pay later, and one-click checkout, our decisions have become disembodied. We spend with our fingers, but not with our breath. And that, in Buddhist terms, is dangerous ground. Because when we forget the chain of cause and effect, we begin to act in ways that fracture our sense of accountability, not just financially, but spiritually. Now let's shift our gaze from behavior to symbol. Let's talk about the wallet. In Feng Shui, your wallet is not just a container, it is a reflection. It mirrors your relationship with wealth, your ability to contain energy, and the degree of respect you hold for prosperity. A cluttered wallet filled with expired gift cards, tangled receipts, old business cards, and 3 too many credit cards is not just messy. It is a physical manifestation of fragmented chai, disordered life force. A wallet like that doesn't just reflect confusion, it reinforces it. Think about it. How do you feel when you open a wallet that's bursting with scraps of paper and plastic? Does it invite calm? Does it radiate clarity? Or does it trigger avoidance, shame, disorganization? And if that's the energy that greets you when you interact with money, what message are you sending to your subconscious about your ability to hold wealth? Wealth is not about quantity, it's about relationship. And that relationship is shaped, in large part, by the rituals we perform, even and especially the small ones. Let's consider Steve Jobs. His signature aesthetic, clean, intentional, minimal, was not just a branding choice, it was a philosophy. Jobs was famously deliberate about what he wore, how he presented, how he built his products. His obsession with clarity and simplicity was not just about design, it was about energy. Every decision, every object was meant to align with a deeper sense of purpose. Your wallet should follow that principle. Let me offer you 3 shifts that are small in effort, but profound in impact. 1, purge your wallet with intention. Don't just declutter, ritualize. Sit down with your wallet and go through each item one by one. Ask, does this serve me energetically? Does this align with my current financial life? Let go of what no longer reflects who you are. Create a sacred act around it. Perhaps play calming music, light a candle, or simply take 3 slow breaths before and after. As you remove each item, say softly, I release what no longer reflects my financial clarity. And once the wallet is clean, don't leave it empty. Place a note of gratitude inside, a small handwritten message to yourself about your evolving relationship with money. 2. Carry only what you use. Just as you wouldn't wear 5 watches or carry 7 phones, why would you weigh down your wallet with 5 or 6 cards? Choose 1 or 2 primary cards that serve you best. Perhaps one for personal use, one for business or backup. Let go of the rest or store them elsewhere securely. Now, according to the 5-element theory in Feng Shui, your personal energy aligns with certain colors and materials. If your element is water, choose a black or navy wallet. If fire, go with red or pink. If earth, try yellow, ochre, or tan. If metal, white, gray, or silver. If wood, green or teal. This isn't superstition, it's energetic harmony. When your container reflects your element, it amplifies alignment. 3. Keep a high denomination bill. You won't spend this one, may seem odd, but hear me out. Place a crisp, high-value note, a 100 bill, a 500,000 VND note, a 200 DAO, whatever holds symbolic weight in your currency, into your wallet. Not for spending, for symbolism. This bill becomes your anchor, a reminder that wealth already lives with you, that you are not empty, that abundance is not something you chase, it's something you protect, honor, and carry. In moments of doubt, when you feel scarcity creeping in, glance at that bill and remember, wealth is not always visible, but it is always present when honored. Let me offer a Buddhist insight here. Wealth held without clarity becomes a burden. Wealth held with clarity becomes a blessing. What does this mean? If your financial tools, like credit cards, are used reactively, impulsively, or mindlessly, they entangle you. They become karmic weights, burdens. But if you use them with awareness, discipline, and purpose, they become vessels of generosity, growth, and stewardship. One of the greatest misunderstandings of wealth is that it's all about flow. In truth, it's about structure. Like water, money needs channels, and your wallet is one of those channels. Your financial habits, especially the ones you think are just convenience, create ripples that shape your destiny. A swipe here, a subscription there, a tap that you forget. These are not just transactions. They are energetic choices. And when made unconsciously, those choices pull you further from center. But when made with awareness, when your wallet is clean, your cards are chosen, your rituals are intentional, those same choices bring you back to clarity. Now, I don't want you to become afraid of money. That's not the point. The goal is not to demonize spending or vilify modern tools like credit cards. The goal is to rehumanize them, to bring sensation back into the experience, to remember that money is not data, it is energy, it is karma, it is relationship. Let me close this section with one final story. A young monk once asked his teacher, "How should I treat gold?" The teacher replied, "Like fire, warm when tended, destructive when ignored. So treat your money like fire. Honor it, contain it, respect it, and never, ever forget its power." Part 3, the invisible workspace, where financial energy begins. We often talk about wealth in terms of effort, talent, or opportunity. But what if we pause to look at the less obvious part of the equation? Not what you do, but where you do it from. In Feng Shui, space is never neutral. Every corner, every direction, every angle has an energetic signature. And nowhere is this more important than your workspace. Because whether you are writing code, replying to emails, managing a team, or simply planning your week, that desk is not just a table. It's your financial altar. It's the place where decisions are made, ideas are born, proposals are sent, strategies are written. And yet, many people treat their workspace as an afterthought. The desk gets crammed in wherever there's leftover space, under a staircase, next to the laundry machine, in a dark corner facing a wall. But what does that signal to the universe? And more importantly, to your subconscious? Let's step into the story of a woman named Clara, an architect in Berlin. Clara was talented, well-trained, and had all the qualifications to succeed. But she kept hitting walls. Clients would ghost her after presentations. Deals would stall, payments were delayed, and her own energy felt drained every time she sat down to work. She began to question her path. Was she doing something wrong? Then one day a friend gifted her a Feng Shui consultation. Slightly skeptical but curious, Clara allowed a practitioner to assess her home office. What they found was telling. Her desk was shoved into a corner, back facing the door. Above her head was a heavy overhead beam. The chair wobbled slightly. Wires ran in every direction. Papers were stacked in messy piles. The practitioner didn't talk about luck or magic. They simply said, "Your space is fighting you." Over the next few weeks, Clara made small but intentional changes. She moved the desk so it faced the door. She placed a sturdy, high-backed chair with her back against the wall. She cleared the cables and put her most important project file in the center of the desk, flanked by a small jade plant on the left and a gold-toned pen on the right. She didn't change her strategy. She didn't change her branding. She changed her relationship with space. 3 months later, Clara closed 2 contracts that had been stuck for over a year. One of the clients later said, "Your clarity and presentation this time really impressed me." Coincidence? Possibly. But clarity begins in environment before it becomes expression. And Clara's clarity, in her thinking, her layout, her energy, had all shifted. So let's break this down. From a Feng Shui perspective, certain principles are essential when setting up a space where you intend to generate wealth or perform mental labor. 1. Face the door. In Feng Shui, this is called the command position. When your back is to the door, your subconscious registers vulnerability, even if you're not aware of it. Facing the entrance helps you stay alert, confident, and ready to engage. If your desk must face a wall, place a small mirror to reflect the doorway. 2. Anchor your back. Never sit with your back to open space, especially at a hallway or window. The energy behind you should feel solid and supportive. A sturdy chair with a high back, a bookshelf, or even a tapestry can symbolically support you, like having a mountain behind you in traditional Feng Shui theory. 3. Remove overhead beams. In Feng Shui, beams above your head symbolize pressure. If unavoidable, try using upward growing plants or tall lamps on either side of the desk to visually lift the energy. 4. Declutter. Not for aesthetics, but for qi. Clutter in your workspace is like static in your nervous system. Every unopened letter, every tangled cord, every stack of paper you haven't dealt with is a leak. It drains attention. Feng Shui treats clutter not as a flaw, but as stagnation, the blockage of energy that wants to move. Now let's bridge this with Buddhist thought. In the Dhammapada, it is said, "What we are today comes from our thoughts of yesterday, and our present thoughts build our life of tomorrow." Where do those thoughts live? Where are they born, refined, challenged? Your desk, your keyboard, your screen. Your mind cannot remain orderly when your surroundings are chaotic. A Buddhist calligrapher in Kyoto once said, "My writing becomes shaky when my brushes are scattered, but when they are lined up, even the ink flows smoother." This isn't superstition. This is subtle physiology. Environment shapes nervous system shapes breath, and breath shapes focus. That's the chain reaction. Let's take a more familiar figure. Jeff Bezos. When Bezos started Amazon, he famously worked at a door-turned desk in a garage. But what most people miss is that the desk was simple, clean, and always faced forward. There was structure. Even in the chaos of a startup, he respected the idea that clarity begins at the surface. That desk became a metaphor, now turned into literal replicas gifted to employees. That work is sacred, and simplicity anchors growth. Now, this doesn't mean you need a fancy office or thousands of dollars in decor. What it does mean is that your workspace should feel like a partner, not a punishment. When you sit down, ask yourself, is this desk helping me think clearly? Do I feel held, or do I feel scattered, compressed, and drained? You can even perform a simple energy audit. When was the last time you wiped down your workspace intentionally? Are there objects on your desk that you no longer need, but keep out of habit? Do you keep unpaid bills, stressful documents, or broken electronics in plain sight? If yes, you're not just holding on to things, you're holding on to unresolved energy. Let's talk about a few small symbolic activators. A small bowl of coins symbolizes retained wealth and active circulation. Place on the left side of your desk. The wealth corner from the user's seated position. A single gold pen, not for everyday writing, for contracts, applications, or anything involving value. This becomes a sacred object, a financial wand, so to speak. A healthy plant, preferably upward growing and placed on your wood element side, generally the east or southeast corner. It reminds the mind to grow, breathe, and adapt. A mantra card. This can be as simple as a sticky note with a line like, "My work creates value," or a Buddhist verse such as, "May my effort today benefit all beings." None of these are magical, but they are cues. And in behavioral science, cues are everything. They remind the body how to feel. They train the mind how to think. Let's also touch on technology, a major part of our workspace now. Digital clutter creates mental haze. Too many open tabs, unchecked inboxes, or desktop icons all send the same message. I can't keep up. So once a week, do a digital Feng Shui cleanse. Clear your desktop, unsubscribe from spam, archive old folders. Turn your screen into a calm, minimal window, not a battlefield. Remember the Buddhist insight. In everything, clarity precedes flow. When the mind is disordered, the hand is weak. But when the space is arranged, the breath follows. And when the breath follows, productivity flows, wealth follows. Let me leave you with a final thought. Your desk is where your next idea may be born, where your next opportunity will begin, where your time becomes value. If you treat it like a dumping ground, it will treat you like an afterthought. But if you treat it like an altar, a sacred, stable place of creation, it will reflect that energy back in the form of clear thought, decisive action, and aligned prosperity. Part 4, why gratitude is the best investment you'll ever make. Gratitude in our modern culture is often mistaken for politeness. A thank you note, a polite smile, a reaction. But in Buddhist wisdom and classical Feng Shui, gratitude isn't a reaction. It's a foundation. It is not a byproduct of abundance. It is the cause of it. Think about that for a second. Most people say, "I'll be grateful when I have enough." But true spiritual and energetic teachings flip that logic. They say, when you are grateful, you create the conditions for enough to exist. In other words, gratitude is not the effect of wealth. It is the energetic soil from which wealth can grow. Let's begin with the internal landscape. When we experience genuine gratitude, not performative gratitude, but embodied conscious appreciation, our brain chemistry shifts. Neuroimaging studies have shown that gratitude activates the hypothalamus and the ventromedial prefrontal cortex, areas linked to regulation of emotion, stress, and decision-making. In other words, when you are grateful, your brain is more stable. You think more clearly. You take wiser risks. You recover from failure more easily. You are less impulsive and more intentional. Now let's link this to wealth. Money is not just numbers, it is energy. And energy, as Buddhism reminds us, is shaped by intention. If you approach your finances with anxiety, guilt, resentment, or shame, you distort the flow of that energy. You repel rather than attract. And the mind, which governs how we earn, save, spend, and invest, becomes clouded. From that place, even good opportunities feel overwhelming. Even windfalls slip through your fingers. But when you approach money with gratitude, not just in theory, but in daily anchored practice, you shift your entire financial nervous system. Let's talk about how. Most people track expenses with dread. They open their budgeting app and sigh. They look at their statement and mutter, "I spent too much again." This repeated emotion, shame or anxiety, gets paired with money, and over time, your brain begins to associate money with fear, even when you have it. So here's a subtle but radical shift. Every time you spend, say to yourself, "I'm grateful I could afford this." It doesn't matter what it is, groceries, rent, a bus ticket, a medical bill. The point is not to ignore the reality of cost. It's to affirm your ability to meet it. This trains your brain to associate money with empowerment, not depletion. You start building a neurological map that says, "I have enough, I can handle this, I am provided for." Now let's move to the beginning of the day. Instead of reaching for your phone, try reaching for a sentence. One sentence, spoken aloud. A financial affirmation that is grounded and clear. It could be as simple as, money flows to me in peaceful, consistent ways. I welcome wealth as a guest, and I treat it with respect. I am grateful for every form of value in my life. The point isn't the perfect wording. The point is embodiment. Say it slowly. Feel your breath behind the words. Repeat it as you dress, brush your teeth, or stir your tea. Let it settle in your nervous system. This isn't magic. It's repetition plus emotion equal rewiring. That's neuroscience. Now let's tie this to space. Feng Shui teaches that energy lingers where it is honored. That's why altars, sacred corners, and intentional design matter. But what if we expanded our idea of where gratitude lives? Your wallet can be a place of gratitude. Place a handwritten note inside. Thank you for every opportunity you've helped me hold. Or keep a small object, a photo, a pressed leaf, a coin from a trip that reminds you of abundance. Your refrigerator can be a gratitude altar. Why? Because it represents nourishment. Instead of letting it become a storage box of neglect, keep it clean. Place a note that says, "See, thank you for feeding me well." Even if it sounds silly, it works. Your mirror. Most people stare into a mirror and critique. Flip the script. Tape a small message to the edge. Thank you for the work you do every day to provide. Every morning as you pass by, you see it. You don't have to read it. Your subconscious will. Your entryway. The door is the mouth of qi in Feng Shui, where energy enters. Place a bowl or small tray there with a token of abundance. A stone, a plant, a gold object. Each time you pass, say internally, "Thank you for the safety and shelter of this space." These are not decorations, they are declarations. Let's now look at a real example. Howard Schultz, former CEO of Starbucks, often speaks about the deep gratitude he has for his upbringing in a working-class family. Despite massive success, he would regularly return to his old neighborhood, not for publicity, but to reconnect with the values that shaped him. He's known for walking into stores and thanking baristas personally. His leadership style, for all its corporate structure, is deeply rooted in appreciation. And that appreciation shows in his ability to lead, pivot, and grow. It's not a stretch to say that gratitude has shaped his decisions, not just as an emotion, but as a financial intelligence. Another example? Oprah Winfrey. Oprah has kept gratitude journals for decades. Every night, she would write down 5 things she was grateful for, no matter how small. She has publicly said this one practice changed the direction of her entire life. And considering she went from extreme poverty to building a billion-dollar media empire, it's hard to ignore the connection. What both of these figures have in common isn't just success, it's a ritualized form of gratitude, a practice, a devotion. And that's the key. Gratitude isn't something you feel only when things go well. It's something you practice, especially when they don't. In Buddhist philosophy, the concept of mudita, sympathetic joy, teaches us to feel happiness for others' success. But what's often overlooked is that this also cultivates the capacity to feel worthy of success ourselves. When we can celebrate abundance, whether our own or someone else's, we reinforce the karmic frequency of sufficiency, and that magnetizes more of it. Let's bring this home with some tangible practices you can begin right now. 1. Start a money gratitude journal. Each night, write down 3 money-related moments you're grateful for, even small ones. I found a discount on groceries. My client paid on time. I avoided an impulse buy. This trains your mind to see money as a flow, not a famine. 2. Speak your thanks at every transaction. At the gas station, in the cafe, when paying a bill, whisper, "Thank you." It anchors you to the ability to participate in the economy. That's not a given, it's a privilege, recognize it. 3. Monthly wealth blessing. On the first day of each month, stand in your financial area, usually the back left corner of your home, facing from the front door. Light a candle, hold your wallet or a bill, say aloud, "I welcome this month's prosperity. May I use it with care and joy." Place a coin or crystal in that corner. Let it be a visual cue the all month. 4. Bless someone else's success. When you hear someone got a raise, Landed a new client or bought a home? Pause. Say internally, may their fortune expand and may mine rise with it. That's mudita in action. It clears jealousy and plants seeds of shared abundance. Let me leave you with one last image. Imagine your energy field as a field of soil. Resentment is a drought. Comparison is erosion. But gratitude? Gratitude is rain. Steady, cleansing, nourishing rain. It prepares the ground. It softens the earth. And it makes it ready for growth. Don't wait for the harvest to give thanks. Give thanks so the harvest can begin. Final. So in the end, perhaps wealth isn't something we chase, but something we learn to hold. Not tightly, but consciously, with care, with awareness. Like the tea master in Kyoto who never let a drop spill. Because every drop, he said, was once cloud, and cloud was once breath. How can I treat it casually? This is the essence of stewardship. Not about hoarding, not about fear, but about reverence, because energy doesn't just leak through big decisions. It escapes through small forgettings. A cluttered wallet, a rushed meal, a desk that faces the wrong way. And when we begin to notice, to clean, to realign, we shift from surviving to stewarding. We begin to hold wealth, not just in our bank accounts, but in our space, our choices, and our breath. Remember, you don't always need to make more to have more. Sometimes you just need to leak less. And that begins in the way you treat what you already have. So let your kitchen be clean. Let your wallet be intentional. Let your desk face the door. Let your attention become your altar. And most importantly, let your gratitude be the thread that ties it all together. If this video has stirred something in you, if it's reminded you gently of something you already knew deep down, I invite you to share it. Leave a comment with a small practice you're reclaiming, or simply write this in the comments. Wealth flows to me in steady, peaceful waves. If this space has nourished you today, I hope you'll support its growth. With just one like, one share, or one subscribe, you help New Day Mindfulness reach more hearts. And with your support, I'll continue creating teachings grounded not in hype, but in harmony. Rooted not in superstition, but in the wisdom that has carried us for generations. May you hold what you are given with clarity, and may what you give always return with peace.